Hey guys, okay, going to be working on this 2019 model year, I believe, Wacker Neuson WL32 today. And this video is going to be specifically on the after-treatment unit on this machine, which is located right here. It's this canister. So we're going to be removing it. We're going to be chemically cleaning the diesel oxidation catalyst, which is located inside, and we're going to be cleaning the DPF, which is located inside as well. So the diesel oxidation catalyst is a filter that's located in the first half, and then the diesel particulate filter is a filter that's located in the second half of this canister here. And this video is great for people who have this machine, but it's also going to be great for people who have a modern diesel engine that have these two filters, because the chemical process we're going to be using for cleaning them is going to work with, almost all diesel filters. So stay tuned for that. It'll be the second part, so definitely worth a watch. And this video is going to be pretty heavy with information about this particular machine. So throughout the video, as I'm working on this and showing you how to remove parts and all that, I'll probably be doing some voiceover. I think I haven't fully decided yet, but likely doing some voiceover. We'll be putting some error codes at the bottom here that you may be experiencing on this machine. And of course, at the end of the video, if you have any questions about this, I have the full service manual for this. I've had this for about 3-4 years now. So I know a fair amount about this machine. So if you're having issues, please leave any questions in the comments there. So yeah, we're going to get to disassembly in a sec here, but I'm just going to tell you the reason why I am cleaning the two components of the after treatment unit. So the main thing we're going to discuss right now is just this pipe right here. So this pipe goes from the after treatment unit bolted on the back of the motor here. So what this does is it uses diesel fuel to heat up the exhaust when the machine is doing a regen. So it heats up the exhaust and then heads into the back of that canister I was just talking about. But this is a known failure point. Wacker and Perkins know about this. This pipe has failed right here. You can't really see it because it's a kind of like a hairline crack. But it's failed between the hard part of this pipe and the start of the bellows here where they weld it. Basically the vibration from the motor combined with the vibration that is experienced by this canister here, this part just can't take the vibration and it cracks open. And so when that happens, as you can imagine, it wreaks havoc on the after treatment unit, because the hot gases that are supposed to be passing through here helping to do passive and active regeneration on the diesel oxidation catalyst and the diesel particulate filter located inside this canister can't happen, because in my case especially, we had temperatures -10, -12 degrees Celsius when this happened. It's sucking in cold air. You have basically soot going through, and it plugs up the filter within minutes. So symptoms of this would be, and exactly what happened to us, we're driving down the road, not plowing, not doing anything, just going up the road. All of a sudden you sort of feel a power loss, pretty significant. No codes were coming up at that point, but essentially what was happening is the diesel oxidation catalyst filter right at the start was probably the first thing getting plugged. Then it plugs the diesel particulate filter and essentially chokes out your engine to the point where you lose a ton of power, can stall the engine, and it puts it into limp mode, and you start getting a whole bunch of codes, things like that. So this is a known failure point. Wacker, Neuson, and Perkins know that. And I actually have the service information, I guess, bulletin, whatever you want to call it here. It's dated March 26, 2018, where it says, we found the flex tube can burn out after a certain period of time. And I mean, I guess you could call it burnout, but basically what's happening is just vibrating to the point where it cracks. It just can't take the vibration. So in my case, maybe different for your case, but Wacker, Neuson, and Perkins will warranty this pipe, which is a very expensive pipe. I don't know the exact price, but I'm pretty confident it's between $1,800 and $2,500 Canadian dollars for this short little piece of stainless pipe here. So it's significant. So they've warranted this then for 5 years or 3,000 hours, which is on top of whatever the standard warranty is on this whole machine. So keep that in mind, and definitely try to use that to your advantage if this happens to you, because that's a significant cost, especially on such a new machine. I guess in the voiceover, I'll go over ways to remedy this in the future once the warranty on this machine goes away. So I'll talk about that as we're doing the disassembly. But let's get to it here. We'll get to the disassembly of this unit and you know, what you have to move out of the way, all that to get it out. And then we'll get into the full chemical cleaning process. Okay, so first we're going to remove this air canister here, intake, and this bracket, just to give us some room to work. So I believe it's 18 mil. Remove these two bolts. I'll leave this one loose here. And you can remove this hose clamp right here, but I find it's easier if you come around the other side. Remove that pipe right here, because when we take the canister out, it's going to free up some space. Just turn this light on. Oh, it's dead. It'll free up some space so this rubber tube isn't in the way. So let's get that out of the way. 7 millimeter. Okay, next we're going to remove these 4 nuts and bolts that are holding the pipe onto the after-treatment unit. In the past, when I removed this the first time, I did remove this bracket, but depending on what tools you have at your disposal, like one time we had to do this on the side of the road, you can remove this bracket, gives you a little bit more access to this bolt, but in the shop here I have a wrench that will get onto this particular bolt here, so it shouldn't be an issue. So these are 12, and actually the back side's 10. The bolt is 10, the nut's 12 millimeters. Just using a 12 millimeter ratcheting wrench here. And just before you move that last bolt, just keep in mind there's a gasket in between here, a metal gasket. Just don't let that fall. There it is there. Okay, so that's loosened that pipe. And so in my case, I worked out a deal with the dealership just so we don't have to get this machine moved to them. We need to get this pipe off, and they're going to come and just put this pipe on, and then the technician is going to clear the codes so that this system knows that the DPF and the DOC has been cleaned and this pipe is good to go. So I'm going to take this off right now. If you were just cleaning the after treatment unit, you wouldn't need to remove this pipe completely off the machine, but I'm just going to do that now. So this is a 12 mil. That's what they look like. They can be seized in there, so apply a little bit of heat with a torch or something like that if you need to. And keep in mind this has, oh, it's already come off there, a gasket on it as well. So there's our spot right there. So let me make sure I'm getting that. You can see the crack. That's where it failed. And that's that, like, I mean, I'm sure it is sooty a lot of times, but it's exceptionally sooty right now. But yeah, you can see how that fails right at that location. Okay, so that's the part we need to replace. Grab this gasket. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, I just put a cloth in this air tube. But I wanted to show you, I took the sensors off their spots here already, but I just want to show you where they go. So I'm on the right-hand side of the vehicle here, and you have 3 of these types of sensors. These are temperature sensors. So this one here is sensing the temperature before the DOC, the diesel oxidation catalyst, and it has this gray end on it right here, and it plugs into right there. Hopefully you can see that gray connector right there. And the easiest way to remove these, that's why I removed it first, just because it's kind of tedious, but you just push on this part of the clip right here and then just pull them off. The temperature sensor here, which is after the DOC, is this black one. It clips right here. It's pretty easy to get to. And then there's a third one, which is located after the DPF, same type of sensor. And it's plugged into, this is what it looks like. And it actually routes like this. And hopefully you can see the, yeah, there's the, where's their female part of it right there. And it's the same type of clip. It's like a white, sort of a white, yeah, it's white, that whitish gray. So it goes there. And so you're gonna have to get those off in order to get this off. The next thing we're going to remove are these 4 bolts right here. 2. And right there and right there. And they are 12 mil, I believe. And they just let these brackets come off. And also, this connector right here, this connects to this differential pressure sensor right here. And I might as well just mention right now, this differential pressure sensor measures the difference in pressure between the front or the start or the area before the DPF and the area after the DPF. And that's how your like sort of engine management unit is able to tell when the DPF needs to do an active regen or when it's plugged, basically. So the difference in pressure here is able to be sensed by this. So you got to remove that plug, because when we remove this, I'm going to actually take this off with it. You'll see what I mean when I do that. So I'm just taking those 4 bolts off. So then you can remove this bracket completely. You should be able to totally lift this out of the machine. Okay, so here it is out of the machine. There's the 3 sensors I talked about. We're going to get into this thing. There's your differential pressure sensor here with the 2 fittings here before and after the DPF. So let's get to getting the actual DPF filter out. So we're going to need to remove all these nuts and bolts around the outside of this. So they're all 12. And we're also going to remove, well, we're going to remove this whole sensor, so we might as well just do it now. It'll be 17. There's 2 crush washers here, which I've reused, and there's no issue. So just keep in mind, that's how they go. And we'll remove this one. And good to clean the soot out of that too. Just so you're getting accurate readings. So we'll put that off to the side. Okay, with that out of the way, you can lift this off. There's the inside of it there. So there's your one sensor sticking in. And we'll actually clean this as well. So we're going to remove all these temperature sensors here, these probes. And yeah, so we'll just remove those. That off the side. There's two gaskets here, metal gaskets. This is your diesel particulate filter. And you'll see there's two more gaskets. This is the back side, this is the outlet, this is the inlet. You can see it's quite plugged with soot. Two gaskets. I've already had this apart once before, very recently. So that's why you see it's got some of this anti-seize on it, because I didn't want anything seizing back together. And then down in there, I don't even know if I can see that. Down in there is your DOC, diesel oxidation catalyst, which is a flow-through type filter. So the honeycombs or the cells go straight through, and they're covered with platinum and palladium, and that's what converts your exhaust gases into less harmful substances. So yeah, I guess it's worth noting, just in case anyone else is working on a different diesel engine, the DOC, like I said, is a flow-through design. So you've got basically all those little squares you saw, they go directly straight through. They go right through, and then the exhaust gases pass through here, and the platinum and palladium is embedded into the ceramic of these cells. So, and then after that, you've got your diesel particulate filter. However, the passages of the diesel particulate filter look the same. So you've got, square channels like this, hundreds of them, and your exhaust passes through this, but they can't pass out the end of the same cell. This has a blockage here. They are actually forced through very small holes, I guess you'd call them, passageways, so that they're forced to come out, an adjacent channel here and continue out into the air. And what happens there is the soot gets burnt off, and all the ash is trapped inside those channels there. So you can't just blow this thing straight out. It either has to be, chemically washed or baked, which we're going to do the chemical wash, or baked. But it's really the only way to get it cleaned is to break up the particles that are in here and flush it out. So in my particular case, because it was only a short period of time that caused the DPF to get plugged, really all I'm going to be cleaning for the most part is the heavy soot buildup on the start or on the inlet side of both of these filters, here and here. And the first part of the wash I'll show you is what's going to help with that. But I'm also going to do just a full wash to help get rid of any of the ash that's built up just from regular operation inside this filter. So if you're doing a modern diesel engine and you want to clean it out, if it's been in your car for 5-10 years and it's getting to the end of its life, this type of wash that I'm doing will actually help with that as well. So this is a great way to do it. So before we do our wash, we're going to remove these sensors. So just keep in mind, this is the inlet. You've got gray, black, and then on the cover here, it's the white sensor. So just for when you're putting them back. And I suppose you could take those off and leave them connected inside the machine, but it's just, I find it easier if they just all come out with it. And it's easier to get some kind of wrench or pliers on this. These are pliers wrenches, so they actually grab down really nice. And you'll see it pokes in there, so it's after the DOC. And then we'll remove the one here from the cover, and we'll give them a clean just on the end too, just to get the soot off of them so they have accurate readings. There's that one. Okay, so here I'm using this Zepp industrial purple degreaser. It's a degreaser I've used many times before for degreasing machines, things like that. It does a really nice job. It's an industrial, heavy-duty type degreaser. This just happens to be one available in my area. Any type of degreaser essentially will work. Obviously, the stronger, the better. You can even use Dawn dish soap. You can use dishwasher tabs if you have them. So the first part of this clean basically is going to be getting the majority of the soot and sort of oily diesel particles out of the DOC, DPF, and the canister, that type of thing. So that's what this process here is actually doing. And then the second part of this will be with the acid wash, which I'll get into, and that'll be to take care of the actual ash, which is located inside the DPF. You'll notice there that I added a little bit of water to the degreaser. Ideally, you want to use it full strength, but I just put a little bit of water just to get the level of the bucket up above the height of the filters there, just so I could leave them in the bucket to soak. So here I'm just seeing what's coming out initially, but basically I'm just going to leave it in here, for 15 minutes, half an hour, to let the degreaser do its thing, soak in, and work on that soot and oil, and then flush it out. So here I am flushing it out, and I'm just lifting it up to show you. So I've got the hose sort of sealed right to the face there of the outlet of the DPF. So I'm trying to push all the dirt back through the inlet, and this process does take a while. You can use a pressure washer, however you need to be very careful, because although you won't damage the silicon carbide, which is the main part of the DPF, you can damage the glue, which is the white strips you see in between the cells. So if you are using pressure washer for this process, be very careful. It can be done, but it's safer to use a hose. And as you can see there, I'm basically moving from spot to spot, and there it is there. I'm just waiting till the water goes clear, and that way I know that particular section is clean of soot, and then I just move on to the next section and basically just go throughout the whole filter doing this. It does take some time. I had to change this pan like 5 times, and you'll find that you keep getting a ton of soot on the outside around the rim, and that's because the fiberglass material that's around the outside of that is actually just keeps flushing through, and it just seems like it's producing ash forever, but that doesn't necessarily have to be clean, because it's just a buffer between the stainless steel canister and the DPF filter itself. And then here I'm soaking the DOC, giving it a couple of flushes. I did reuse the same water I used for the DPF. Ideally, you'd want to use new stuff, but we're degreasing here, so it's not that big of an issue. And most of the big particles of soot go down to the bottom. Okay, so same thing here. I let this soak in the degreaser for 20-30 minutes to loosen up any oils, and now I'm just giving it a flush. This is a lot easier to flush out than the DPF because the passages go straight through, like we talked about before. And I'm just hosing out the inside of the canister here to show you how well this chemical and any degreaser really removes soot. So that's basically back to brand new. It's a shiny stainless surface, and if you can imagine, that is basically what it's doing to the inside of your DOC and DPF. So just a little bit more flushing out happening here. This is a fairly messy job, so I got my mop going and everything. And you're going to want to dispose of this stuff, properly. It is a carcinogen, so take it to your local hazardous waste facility, all this water. And I'm just doing the lid here. You don't really have to do the lid, but I just wanted to get it nice and clean, get all the soot out of it, just so when we put everything back together, it's not going everywhere. Okay guys, we're gonna do the second part of our wash here. I'm going to be washing the diesel particulate filter only in my case, just because the second part of this wash is mainly to get rid of ash that's built up inside the DPF. So there's not really any use me cleaning the DOC, because there should be very little, if any, ash in it. So anyway, we're going to be using muriatic acid here. This is a fairly strong concentration of acid, so definitely take precautions. You're going to want gloves. Obviously body protection, you don't want this on your skin, and probably the most important is eye protection. So I've got like a little shield on right now. You can probably hear it in the sound. This isn't a super strong acid, but you're always supposed to add acids to water, so we will do it the proper way. I'm going to dump this out into a dry bucket, and I'm going to use this to measure out water to dilute. So in my particular case, we're starting with 32-ish% muriatic acid. We want to dilute that down to approximately 7-8% concentration. And although the actual filter element can withstand the full strength acid, we don't want to eat away at the stainless steel exterior. Although mild with the full strength acid, it does eat away at the canister. So we want to avoid that. So we're going to dilute this. Easiest way, I'm starting with 4 liters. I'm going to put 12 liters of water with this 4 liters of acid, which should get us to a concentration which will eat the ash, not eat the canister, and we'll be safe. And when we dilute it, it's a little bit safer to work with, but still use your protection. So I'm going to dump all this in here. Be careful to avoid splashes. You should be doing this outside if you don't have proper ventilation. Okay, I'm going to add the acid to the water without splashing, hopefully. See that gas coming off? You don't want to breathe that. That's why you should be doing this outside. Okay, and then we're going to submerge our filter. And we're just going to let it soak for a bit. 15, 20 minutes at a time. And we'll revisit that after that. Okay guys, getting back to the reassembly now. It's been a couple of days, it's been busy. I just put everything on top of the wood stove here just to dry it out. Not necessary because I mean this system can handle a little bit of moisture inside, but figured if the fire was going I might as well dry everything out. So we'll put this back together now. Okay, so put our gasket. 2 gaskets. It's one. I think they're like stuck together. And then we're gonna put our DPF back in. Nice and cleaned. 2 more gaskets. And then our lid. It's been nice and cleaned as well. Not that it's super necessary, but it's just nice to get all the soot out of it. Yeah, it sits in the engine like that. So we're gonna put that one just like that, so that you got 1, 2, 3 temperature sensors, and then 1, 2 differential pressure sensors here, or holes anyway. put anti-seize on all the bolts, just so disassembly next time if I have to do it is easy. Just a tiny bit of anti-seize on that. These are stainless, I'm pretty sure, so they shouldn't get too rusted in there. Tighten those down, 14 millimeter. They don't have to be like crazy tight, but just fairly snug. So the crush washers, put one, put it through the fitting. And again, just snug them down. Didn't have the camera on there, but yeah, I just tightened down the 4 bolts, so they're good to go. And now we're just going to attach the sensors. Okay, that one's on there. It's just a little hard because that little black one sort of is in the way, so you just got to push it out of the way and then push your connector on. Other one, it's easy, it's right here. Clicks on. And this one down in there, I mean, if you guys can see that, slips on. Go. And then the one here for the differential pressure sensor. So it goes on, and then you just push that red tab in. Okay guys, so I just got the old pipe on there. I put that on just so I could align everything, make sure it's good. So that's just loosely on there. I'm not going to film the tech putting the new pipe on. It's supposed to be coming tomorrow. Just because like the only thing worse than, you know, somebody watching you work, somebody filming you while you're working. I will maybe do a little bit of an addition to this on the end of this video after he puts the new pipe on. And after we get it running, talk about how the codes were cleared. Hey guys, okay, so the pipe's back on. The tech just left, great guy. Didn't actually have to clear any codes or anything because the machine didn't go into like a full D rate because we shut it down in time. So the new pipe was put on, there was no leaks. We ran through, you know, warm up right up to temperature. Did a full regen on it. I took it for a ride down the road. Everything seems to be operating as usual, no codes. So I think we're running back to normal. Okay, check this out, guys. So it took me like 5 minutes just to set the camera up here, just to get this sweet shot so you know what's up. Okay, so this is the way it normally is. See how much movement we have here? when I move it. Okay, so this is just loose. Normally it's tightened down, but I just left it loose so I could take it off. So take this nut off, remove the bracket, I took the other side off. And then you gotta loosen that bolt. You usually have to hold the bottom with a ratchet, but this should come off. 13 millimeter. So take that off. So this is the stock setup. This is how they set it up from the factory. So this bolt comes down through. Okay, and then there's a little washer here. Okay, that's on there. Let me move the camera. So that's what it looks like under there. So the normal setup is this washer is on there like that. See how it goes around the little rubber part that sticks down? Let me remove it for a second. Sure, I'll just leave it. That rubber part is actually a metal sleeve that goes right up in there. And what happens is when you put this bolt up in there and tighten everything down, that the steel on that internal sleeve there keeps you from tightening it down more than the depth of that sleeve. So what we want is we want whatever these little bumpers are. I think they're like max out bumpers, so that when the thing's really rocking, if it gets to a point where it moves so much, those sort of bottom out on this metal thing. We want those touching now. We want those touching all the time. We want it sitting on those little rubber stops right there to stop the intense vibration, because these are just too gummy, too juicy, too movie. So what you need to do is you need to find yourself a washer. I have a whole bunch here, but at the end of the day, you need to find a washer as close as you can to the internal diameter of that washer there that sits over that little rubber / metal tube that sticks down. So I found this one. It's a lot bigger on the outside and it's a lot bigger internal diameter, but all that matters is it goes over the rubber thing that sticks down. So let me set the camera up in the other position again. So check it out. You got your old setup here, didn't change anything here. Gonna put this washer on here. Put this back up through. You gotta make sure that that new washer goes up over that sleeve. And then we're gonna tighten this down. Now before I tighten it down, check it out. So normally, the nut that I'm turning right now would have stopped turning. You couldn't turn it anymore because that sleeve was stopping everything from compressing. It would have stopped right there. And notice the gap between this metal / rubber and then the metal here. There's a gap here. We want that rubber to be touching. So I'm going to torque it down now. And we'll be able to torque it down. See, there's our bottom out point right now. So I could put another washer if I want to and really squeeze this little block shaped piece of rubber, but I don't want to do that. I want it so they're just touching, so that it takes all the sponginess out of this main rubber that they got going through here, because that's just too much. So now it's sitting on these. So you still have, and I don't have the strap on, but I'm just showing you, you still have the littlest bit amount of movement. So it's not perfectly like steel to steel, but it's on these little bumpers. And I'm gonna do that all four. And I think that's gonna help a ton in reducing the vibration between this and the motor, because they should be sort of vibrating together, if that makes sense, with maybe a little bit of sponginess on the exhaust side. And with the bellows there that we just replaced on this flex pipe, I think everything will move together a lot better. So that's it for this video, guys. I know it was a long-winded one, but if you have this machine, this is very valuable information. If you got any